Student Redditors, what are the dumbest questions you've ever heard asked in class? I'll start. When I was a HS sophomore, a fellow classmate pointed to the map of the US near the front of the class and asked me what those islands in the box under California were. I stared back with a look of incredulity and answered Hawaii. It's worth noting that my high school is located in Honolulu. One time I asked a teacher what World War I was called before World War II. The entire class had a mass freak out over my stupid question and responded with a resounding it was called World War I. Duh. The Great War I believe, but yet heard people do this again and again. What class was this again? Said by some girl who dramatically stood up in the middle of the class 2 weeks into the course when she realized that she was in an applied linguistics course and not a history one. I once took psychopharmacology cause I thought it was gonna be about crazy farm animals. A girl in one of my classes once asked, straight-faced, if there were any homeless people in the Middle Ages. When our professor answered absolutely yes, this girl then said, non-ironically, oh, I thought they all lived in castles. Thus began the most entertaining semester I've ever had. Yeah, of course they all lived in castles. Charlemagne was dealing out subprime castle mortgages like a champ. Did Shakespeare write Titanic? A less than bright classmate made the Leonardo DiCaprio connection between Titanic and Romeo and Juliet. I didn't witness it, but my boyfriend at the time did. This kid asked his psychology teacher, can blind people get drunk? In a high school government class, probably sophomore year, we were looking at the big pull down world maps that every classroom has and talking about World War II. 5 girls in the back of the room had been talking amongst themselves before one of them finally asked our teacher. We ladies were wondering why Japan even bothered fighting the US. Cause it seems like it would take a lot of time to cross Europe to attack us, which isn't very smart. Our teacher had the most confused look on his face when he responded, you know, the earth, it's round. She'd obviously never played Risk. When discussing the fact that 2 different species can't interbreed to produce fertile offspring, so is it like Eskimos and black people? In high school we were learning about Braille. One student raises his hand and asks, wait, so do blind people see dots? He was 100% serious. In a high school science class, serious question, how do the people on the bottom of the earth keep from, you know, falling off? Longest, most awkward silence ever. It wasn't a question, more an assertion in a 3rd year philosophy of mind class. I forget what the lecturer was actually trying to describe, but he ended with, much like in a film, which is composed of hundreds of still frames in quick succession in order to give the impression of movement. A full third of the class adamantly disagreed with this fact, claiming that, sure, cartoons worked like that, but films were actually moving. I lost what shred of remaining faith I had in my classmates that day. World history class, at the end of a discussion on Buddha. Okay, but when did he turn into a statue? I think everyone just kind of groaned for a minute afterwards. Girl asked why we have an oil pipeline to Alaska when we can freeze the oil, cut it into cubes and ship it in boxes. Also asked if the world got too heavy would we like go back in time. I had a full page of this kind of crap written in the back of one of my notebooks. Not sure if to laugh or weep. In my legal studies class in year 11, a guy in my class casually put up his hand and asked with all seriousness if someone drowns in the ocean, can the ocean be trialed for murder? There was no laughter for about a minute, there was just WTF faces everywhere. The Roman Emperor Caligula once supposedly declared war on Neptune, god of the ocean. He lined his soldiers up on the beach and ordered them to charge the ocean, and they hacked at the waves and threw spears at the water. Afterwards, they collected seashells as spoils of war. I guess that's about as close as it gets. Not a question, but in high school my English class was discussing offensive slang, and this self-righteous prick of a girl raises her hand and says, with complete conviction, calling people lame is just retarded. She looked so smug for at least 5 seconds before she realized. Student, so there are like a lot of stars in the universe, right? Like millions? Teacher, yes. Student, so that means the universe is really big, like as big as the ocean? In grade 7 we were doing an assignment on adaptation. To illustrate the point, our science teacher had us draw a hawk and a duck on the whiteboard. After that was done, this one girl in my class raised her hand, and in all seriousness, told our teacher that ducks have 4 legs. We later convinced this girl that flamingos were poisonous and that there were spiders the size of a car in Antarctica. Well, you see, there is this place called Skyrim where there are actually— oh, never mind. In a physics class, so electromagnetism could, like, explain why my aura is powerful enough to sometimes turn off streetlights when I walk by them, in an advanced biopsych course. So if I die in the dream, I don't die in real life, right? Professor, why would you even think that? Well, it happens in the Matrix. And how do you know people who die in their sleep are just not waking up before they hit the ground in a dream? Relate to that lecture. Professor, it's actually an urban myth that waking up a sleepwalker will significantly traumatize them. Same guy stands up bulls. My baby sister died by being woken up while she was sleepwalking and stormed out of the lecture hall. Learning about how reactive pure potassium is with water in high school. Chem. Student, so does that mean, if I threw a banana in a pool, it would explode? Teacher, I don't know. Ted, why don't you try it? High school student killed in pool explosion. Teacher held for questioning. This isn't really a question, but I feel like it fits. In my communication lecture last year, our professor asked us to give him examples of synergy in nature. This was during the part of the class about the big media corporations and how they promote each other. This guy that lived in the room next to me raised his hand and said mosquitoes and fireflies. The whole lecture hall of 300 or so laughed at him, and the professor asked him how those two were even connected. He said that fireflies light up the sky at night so mosquitoes can find things to bite. The professor asked him where he learned that. He said common sense. During a brief explanation of Greek mythos, a girl yelled out, "Oh, I know who Zeus is now. That guy was Jesus' dad, right?" Hey, frick it. Close enough. I thought I asked a dumb question. In 10th grade bio class, I asked my teacher, why don't things, like my hands, go through one another when I clap? Why don't solid objects pass through one another? What keeps them from doing so? My peers looked at me like I had 2 heads, and my professor had no idea how to answer. I was freaking embarrassed. I didn't talk for the rest of that class. It wasn't until I took college physics did I learn that my question wasn't stupid, and in fact my question had a deeper answer than I imagined. They must have thought you were high. 11th grade English class. Girl, to the teacher, how old are your daughters? Teacher, 6 and 4. Girl, oh, you have twins? Teacher was dumbstruck. She was just dumb. Freaking lag. We were reading Paradise Lost and my teacher mentioned Sicily, and this girl said, with complete sincerity, wait, Sicily is a real place. One girl in a psych class I took asked if sleeping people could actually interact with each other and share dreams at will, like in the episode of SpongeBob. That was a good episode. Gary is smart. 11th grade. Hot dumb girl in some form of social studies history. She's sitting next to a map of the world. We had been talking about Asian history for a month. Middle of class. Hot girl has her hand up. I might have missed when you told us this, but what country is Asia in? I was sitting in a first year university philosophy class, and our lecturer had just spent most of the class explaining Descartes and his ideas. Particularly, he was talking about how the world might not be real and could in fact be an illusion. He gave a couple of examples. You might just be a brain in a vat, or you could be stuck in a computer program, a la the Matrix. Then this girl raised her hand and asked, in all seriousness, but what if your friends come and rescue you? That's kind of cute, actually. I thought of another one. Senior English class, 6th period. Since it was in the afternoon, there was a guy, let's call him Jimmy, that would often come to class after having a few drinks at lunch. On this day, Jimmy was particularly saucy. We were given some sort of worksheet to fill out, and Jimmy looked confused. Name and .a. What's .a? The word was date. Nom A and .a. They're twins. It's not really a question, but in high school I was taking a class called 20th Century Issues, which I really don't even know what it did anymore, because it sure as frick wasn't a history class. Anyways, in the middle of a class discussion, the kid who would graduate as valedictorian offers the following gem. Paraphrased from memory. Well, I always thought it would be a really good idea to have whole military companies full of women that live trained together. That way their menstrual cycles will be in sync, and then if a war starts you can just send whichever company is currently PMCing. The looks on everyone's faces told an awful lot about what they were thinking, especially the female students and teacher. Next to that, I'd have to get into military stories, and those are just plain pathetic. That's part of a famous comedian's stand-up routine. It's possible he just got it from there and thought it made sense. In calculus class at the university, after having been through around 60% of the content of the entire course, a young girl decides to ask, when you say that A and B are variables, what exactly does that mean? Dead silence. Our lecturer was cool though, and spent 20 minutes explaining it to her after class. Not school, but stupid question nonetheless. I'm a backpacking guide. The night before, my group was supposed to wake up to catch a 5 AM sunrise at the Grand Canyon. I was reminding them all how we'd need to leave at 4 AM, make sure their cameras had batteries, and have their flashlights easily available for us to start our hike to the sunrise spot. One guy asked me, why do we need flashlights? Is it dark before sunrise? Guys like him get eaten by bears. Wait, do they have gravity on other planets? This was college astronomy, although the magic school bus explained this quite clearly. In America in the 60s, a 400-level history course, we were discussing the similarities between the Occupy movement and the counterculture. That stuff the cops sprayed on the students, how do we know it wasn't Agent Orange? It looked orange to me. Remember on my first day of high school, a girl asked why woman and women are spelled differently when it is the same word. Fascipum. In my college level physics class, a student asked the professor, can astronauts move their pinkies in space? He thought that in order to move your fingers, they had to push off of the air around them. Nowhere in space, ergo no movement. 1. Wait, Christopher Reeves died from lung cancer, right? No wait, John Wayne. No, John Wayne is still alive. He owns an airport in Orange County. 2. So, I don't understand why they call it the luck of the Irish. I mean, like, they had the potato famine. Number 2 is a pretty good point. Speaking as a high school science math tech teacher, I am incredibly grateful for questions like these. As crazy as these questions are, the person asking isn't the only one who doesn't get it. The person asking is the bravest person who doesn't get it. The best dumb question was in one of my larger classes. An obvious question. Freshmen took the time to get the professor's attention to ask the most important question of all time. Can I go use the bathroom? Man, once you're in college it makes you realize how stupid it is that you had to ask to use the bathroom in high school. On Friday, my teacher asked the class, this is in college mind you, would you believe that Russia is in Asia? Yes I would. I've seen a map. She then asked what other countries could be considered to be in Asia, to which a student responded Greece. She didn't correct him. I have a sneaking suspicion this class is going to be easy. Or super hard, because your correct answers will be counted as wrong. Macroeconomics. My professor was leading a lecture about the Great Depression and the different economic theories being tossed around to solve the problems plaguing the United States. Keynesian, classical, etc. A student, who did not have English as a second language towards the back, raises his hand and asks in complete seriousness, is more poor people? The professor sort of does a double take, apologizes and asks if he could ask the question again. He repeats verbatim, is more poor people? She stands there dumbfounded for a few seconds, replies yes, and then finishes the lecture. College acting class. Instructor, jokingly, everyone knows who Shakespeare is, right? Woman raises hand, number dead serious. Silence. She knew, she was just being a pain in the butt. First year English class, going over the reading schedule on the syllabus. What is a syllaboas? Is it a novel? This reminds me of a guy who titled his essay. A guy in my grade 11 biology class thought that all silk came from elephants. I'm just really unsure as to how he got that idea. When I first got to the university I'm currently at, a very private school-like girl asked me what was life like at a state school as if it was similar to prison life. I told her we share one pencil per class, which made things extremely difficult, and she believed me. Last year, we had a speaker come to our school to talk to us about something. Does anyone actually pay attention? Anyways, she tells the whole school this story about how her daughter was killed in Africa, which was by far the most interesting and touching thing she'd said, so people started to pay attention. She tells us how the police found the people that killed her, and they were just a group of young kids. She realized that sending them to prison wouldn't accomplish anything except to destroy their lives, and that they still had long lives left to live. She believed they could live them better than they currently were, so she chose not to press charges, and started a foundation to help troubled youth. At this point, everyone's dead quiet. We're all just quietly staring at her after she finishes the story. The lady starts to feel really awkward not talking, being in a room with 600 other people, so she asks if anyone has any questions. A senior, who had just transferred in, stands up and yells down, "What gives you the right?" really pee off at the lady, and tried to go on a mega rant about how wrong it was that this lady didn't follow the normal legal course of events before he got death stares from all 600 of us. TLDR. A super nice lady changed some troubled youth's lives, and a retarded senior was so angry that she didn't press charges. He went on a mega rant in front of the school and created a school meme. Sadly, I spent too much time trying to figure out what a mega rant was. I kept trying to pronounce it megarant. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.